I have seen the worst. I've seen the worst of what people, men like you, can do.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today, our video will shed some light on the topic of sexual violence, specifically from the perspective of patriarchal and male cultural norms. According to a recent research published in 2022, conflict-related sexual violence against women is believed to be rooted in long-standing patriarchal norms. In other words, it's about how society views and treats men and women differently based on their gender. These differences not only affect individuals and communities, but also have an impact on institutions and their responses. Today, we'll follow the discoveries in the paper to uncover the various institutional processes that unintentionally prevent us from taking effective action against sexual violence. The methodology used in this study was carefully designed to study sexual violence in Colombia. The analysis is based on a series of interviews with representatives from women's organizations in Colombia. In total, 31 individuals from 23 different organizations were interviewed. These interviews were conducted in person between January and April 2018. The interviews included individuals who self-identified as victims of sexual violence. The participants represent diverse ethnic backgrounds for greater external validity. Web search combined with snowball sampling were used to select interview victims. Interview questions was restricted to general perceptions of conflict-related sexual violence, its patterns, and its causes. No personal experience were directly asked about for ethical considerations. Informed consent was obtained from all participants. Thematic analysis was used in this research to ensure its internal validity. Thematic analysis is a 6-step scientific method used to identify patterns and meanings in qualitative data, such as interviews in this study. We will focus on explaining the approach defined by Gina Braun as referenced in this paper. The first step in thematic analysis is to familiarize yourself with the data, whether it's in the form of audio files or transcripts. The goal is to actively observe any meaningful patterns that emerge. For example, common phrases are mentioned among interviewees. Secondly, create initial code based on observations and understanding of the data. This could be in any form such as highlights. Then, on to step 3, decide what to code. Revisit the data and identify interesting excerpts or quotations. The goal is to ensure the similar meanings have consistent code. For example, a code can be physical descriptions of the perpetrator, conflicts with local officers, or negative feelings experienced during or after act. Step 4 would be to collect code and group together all the associated codes to gain a deeper understanding of each code and revise them as necessary. Then, step 5 is to group the code into themes. Organize your code into meaningful themes that contribute to answering the research question. Examples could be fear of power, institutional response, or negative stigmatization. Thematic analysis is an iterative process, so review and refine your themes to ensure they have sufficient supporting data and distinct boundaries. Once the themes are set, it's time to write the final narrative. Tell the story of the collected data, communicate the validity, and offer the interpretative analysis. After we've explored the meticulous methodology used, it's time to delve into the heart of the matter, the findings of the research. Through a series of dramatic clips, we will journey together into the lived experiences of women who have faced sexual violence. While we acknowledge the limitations of using clips from Eastern Asia, they do provide a meaningful representation of the patriarchal and mestiza culture structures that echo the experiences of women in Colombia. In patriarchal cultures, the courageous act of speaking out about sexual violence will be met with a heavy burden of stigma and pressure from the social environment. The emotional toll can lead to withdrawal, depression, self-hatred, and even suicidal intentions. As the paper noted, an imaginary of guilt and shame becomes attached to sexual violence victims, further exacerbates the misconception that victims provoke violence, instead of making the perpetrators accountable for their actions. As one of the interviewed victims have said,
"Sometimes I think of what happened to me, and I cry, and I say, my God, I am filth, I feel dirty, I feel tainted."
Universally recurring emotions of guilt, fear, and shame prevent many women from seeking support and justice. These are not just individual emotions, they are deeply rooted in socio-political and cultural imaginaries about gendered responsibilities. The pressure to remain silent isn't solely internal, it will also impose externally. Family members, worried about negative social repercussions, actively pressure victims into silence. Such family rejection only exacerbates the trauma experienced by victims of sexual violence. In the modern era, social media can be another stress that can increase the stigmatization of victims. As we have explored the internal stigmatization faced by women when speaking about sexual violence, it's crucial to recognize that the challenges do not end there. The paper's focus now shifts to the second finding, the institutional problems that further exacerbate the struggles of survivors in patriarchal cultures. The lack of political will to confront sexual violence is troubling in such culture. Officials often fail to comprehend the magnitude of this violence in the lives of victims. Persistent problems within state institutions include doubting or dismissing victims' testimonies, engaging in victim blaming, and subjecting survivors to re-victimization throughout the legal process. As one of their survivors states,
"I find it terrible that they still do not want to accept my declaration of sexual violence. If it weren't for those civil society organizations that are beginning to raise their voice, the officially registered offenses would be much lower than they are, and we know that many are still absent."
The lack of a singular, linear timeline for victims to deal with sexual violence underscores the complex nature of their experiences. Some may choose to report their victimization immediately, while others may carry it in silence for years. The normalization of violence and power imbalances within patriarchal culture contribute to the victim blaming and dismissal of sexual violence. When power dynamics under patriarchy come into play, women are afraid of more than just the physical strength of the perpetrator. They are also afraid of the abuser's ability to control every aspect of their life. The victims will feel unable to resist or say no, not because of physical restraints, but because of the invisible but ever-present power over them. Even if the perpetrator didn't directly use it during the case, it still has a harmful impact on the victims. The consequences of these rooted patriarchal structures are far-reaching, creating a complex web of stigmatization and incomplete justice within families, communities, courts, and state institutions. However, amidst these challenges, survivors find strength and power through collective action. By sharing their stories, challenging patriarchal narratives, and denying the status quo, survivors reclaim and assert their power in the face of adversity. As we have seen, the patterns of stigmatization, marginalization, and dismissal faced by survivors are not unique to Colombia. These challenges resonate with all patriarchal-heavy and mysterious cultures worldwide. According to another trend analysis conducted in 2020, a latent growth mixture model reveals 6 distinct classes of sexual violence prevalence trajectories for sexual violence against women. China, North America, and Taiwan face the most significant increase, while Bermuda, Guinea, Mexico, Nigeria, and St. Lucia have witnessed the largest decline. The countries with the most significant increase were all under the heavy influence of patriarchal structure. The journey to confront the stigmatization and incomplete justice faced by women is not an easy one. As this research has revealed, there exists a continuum of patriarchal norms and practices operating at every level of society. Within this complex web of challenges, women's organizations and victim associations in Colombia have emerged as fundamental pillars of support. Through collective civil society movements, they provide forums for women to reclaim their power and share their experiences, breaking free from the burden of silence. Their efforts have led to the increased visibility of sexual violence in public disclosure, the drafting of gender-sensitive legislation, and its inclusion in peace negotiations.
I remember that, no perfection. Although I pretend not to be, I'll let you break my heart. I still think of that, no perfection. You jumped the octave and changed the key too high.